So I am integration architect and SME working in Belgium. And today I'm going to present you this topic of MuleSoft security audit. So here, what we are going to discuss is what are the different vulnerabilities to your integration landscape and how MuleSoft security audit are going to uncover those and uh, how we are going to secure the digital landscape or the integration landscape of your company. So let's get started. Uh, I think many of you already know what is MuleSoft, but for those who don't know what is MuleSoft, I would like to just give you a brief introduction that MuleSoft is uh, an integration platform most widely used now. So it has, I mean, the maximum market share in the integration area, and it empowers the organization to connect um, the applications, the data sources, APIs. So pretty much everything that we can think of. So MuleSoft has already built connectors to connect everything like Workday, ServiceNow, Salesforce, SAP, and all the kind of databases, Oracle, or anything that you know SQL databases like MongoDB and Snowflake. So everything, pretty much everything that you can think of. So it's a very powerful tool actually, and its real power comes from DataWeave, which is a scripting language and used to transform, do the lookups and all. So yeah, so MuleSoft, it facilitates seamless data exchange between the various systems, as I already said, and also with your external partners, your vendors, your customers. So yeah, that's pretty much introduction for MuleSoft. And we have seen that with the API economy is rising day by day. So what do I mean here is APIs are becoming the building block for modern applications and services. So you see, earlier there were like maybe 10 years back, we were mostly relying on the monolithic architecture, the big software codes, right? Like thousands of codes, pages of code written. And now we are, I mean, within 10 years, we have seen that how organizations shifted from those monolithic architectures and the big softwares to this small APIs, right? Which are, I mean, service-based APIs. So now the API economy within the last 10 years has risen so much. But again, with this rise, we have vulnerabilities introduced, right? Okay. Okay. So today we are going to see the security concerns in the integration platform. And yes, API security is a major concern. So we have researched that 25%, 41% of the organizations suffered API security issues last year. So let's talk about the very thing that empowers your business. It's integration. It connects your apps, your data, and customers. But with this incredible power comes a hidden cost, and that is exposure. So with the growing complexity of digital ecosystem, we are not just opening the doors. Like when we create an API, we just simply open a door to our data, which is in our data center, right? So here, with creating more and more APIs, we are not just opening one door or two doors, we are opening dozens, sometimes even hundreds or thousands. It depends upon how big is your organization and how much different systems you are connecting. So but during this process, when we are moving from this monolithic architecture to the API-led connectivity to the APIs, do we ensure that the doors that we are opening through the APIs, which APIs work like a portal, right? So I mean, are we locking the doors properly, or anyone can just pass through those doorways? That's very important to understand. So we have always heard about many of the attacks like denial of service attack or Trojan horse and ransomware, many of them, yeah. But in this integration, today's integration landscape, the modern threats that we encounter are not very noisy. not noisy like ransomware or brute force attacks. It is there are some silent threats and some creeping risk that we need to, that haunts us the most now in the API-led connectivity approach. And I mean, I can give you some examples like a misconfigured API, a legacy system or a legacy API that has been forgotten, or an unsecured connector. Maybe credentials, sometimes credentials are hard coded by the developer when they're in rush to deliver really fast. And um, there can be some outdated endpoints that's quietly sitting, maybe like in production. There's an API no one is using, but it's still there, but it can be used by someone to get the data, right? In an unethical way. So these modern threats to our integration are not noisy, but yes, they are very much problematic, and they can incur huge losses to us, right? So, so yeah. So what are the major red flags that we have when we are talking about the security concern? So the major red flags are like we are exposing the sensitive data through insecure integration points. There can be authentication loopholes. For an example, for authentication loophole, I have seen that if we are not chaining our API policies correctly, we might be exposing some sensitive data to them. Take an example. I have seen that sometimes when you pass the wrong certificate, or maybe your client certificate is invalid, sometimes in the response you get all the certificates that are being whitelisted. So unintentionally, in that case, there's a crack or a loophole, authentication loophole, which is silently exposing all the client certificates that we have whitelisted, right? So that's authentication loophole is a very big red flag. And then there can be blind spots in the third-party integrations. Um, and also, above this all, we in whatever line of business we work, there are some compliance that we need to follow, such as GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA, and compliance violations. Whenever they happen, it might lead us to huge and hefty fines, right? And can lose us millions of dollars. So so reality, like we see that there are small organizations, mid-sized organizations, large and very mature organizations, maybe working in this integration landscape for many years. But the reality is that this misused credentials, hard-coded secrets, inconsistent access control. So these things continue to haunt even the very, very mature organizations, which may be using MuleSoft for maybe 6 or 7 years already. So the solution to this overall problem, the overall security problem, is not just a better technology, to use some better technology, but it's about better visibility. So it's not the time that we ask that, are we connected or are we connected fast? We should ask ourselves if we are securely connected. So, and this is the place where our MuleSoft security audit service becomes essential for you. Let's zoom out from this security service and let's address the business challenges. So what are the business challenges that we have? Yeah, so we are seeing this digital transformation races. We are seeing that APIs are flying into production. New platforms are being stitched together overnight, uh, and things have become really fast with technologies such as MuleSoft and similar technologies, which has so much capability that multiple systems and the data can be connected overnight, right? But we need to pause here and we need to think that are we really, are we building the things securely? Are we building this integration securely? Or are we just building fast in a hurry that, okay, we get a project and we deliver it as soon as possible, like maybe 2 days for, uh, 2 days we are investing for the architecture, and then 10 days maybe for development, a few days for testing, and then boom, it's in production. But we need to ask ourselves, is this integration secure, or is our overall integration landscape secure or not? So the reality is many organizations today, even very mature organizations, are not very confident. They don't really truly know their MuleSoft security posture. They operate with some assumptions, uncertainties, and the problem is that these uncertainties that we have are very, very risky. So working for many years in MuleSoft integrations, like for many different diverse clients, we have seen a lot of issues, and also from our friends talking to friends and cousins, I have seen many things that, okay, uh, there can be data breaches from the insecure architecture. And we have seen such some of the examples. We have seen the examples of uh, unauthorized access that happens due to the design oversights. There are compliance violations due to the outdated practices. So thing is, the whole thing, the business challenge thing that's written over here in the slide might seem like something theoretical, but no, they have costed the companies millions. And even not just, it's about not the fine, it's about the data leakage, and it's about their reputation, which comes into a stake. And sometimes it always also comes to customer trust. So security isn't just about protection, it's about the prevention, and the prevention only begins with visibility. So yeah, we have seen the insecure APIs that lead to data leaks. We have seen misconfigurations that open the doors for the unauthorized access, and these failures definitely result in multi-dollar fines. So here the cost of the cost of guessing anything wrong is steep here. So, so you can think of this whole security thing um, as your annual health checkup that you do, right? It's not about finger pointing someone that, hey, you did this wrong or something. It's about catching the silent threats before they become the emergencies. So just like your okay, let me Okay, so just like your doctor check your vitals, uh, uh, what we do is we check the pulse of your integrations, we check your APIs, configurations, access controls, and ensure everything is operating at peak security. Because the goal here isn't just to diagnose the problem too late, it's to give you insight and confidence so that you can here the security is not just a checkbox, right? It's your organization's system, and so we are here to strengthen it. Okay, now let me introduce you to the MuleSoft security audit service. And as I said, MuleSoft security audit service, it's not just about that we have a list ready with us and we just list with the check boxes and we are just checking those boxes. And yeah, so the security audit service is mostly about unlocking the confidence. So what we offer here is not just a technical review. Obviously, it's technical review, but not just technical review. What we do is we give you a rare vantage point. We try to see your MuleSoft environment, your MuleSoft infrastructure in the same manner that an attacker would, and how it will be seen from an auditor for GDPR or HIPAA, right? So we look through that perspective. And most importantly, we look at your integration landscape, how your business should look at it. So we start at the architecture level, whether you are building new integrations or running hundreds in production. Uh, we trace the flow, we evaluate control points, and we uncover the blind spots. And the thing is, we don't do it alone. We engage with your team, your architects, DevOps engineers, platform leads, and others. So we work with them, we talk to them, and then we give our output, right? So what's our output here? Our output is not some vague suggestion that we'll give you some concrete, prioritized, and actionable insights that close the real gaps and harden your platform against the real threats. Our audit service is a strategic seal for everything your business connects. So let's see, what is the domain of your architecture review? So in the architecture review, we review your integration architecture, your deployment architecture, your data architecture, security architecture, network architecture, enterprise architecture, and your DevOps architecture. So let's talk about each of these points, right? So integration architecture, what it is, it's the heartbeat of your connectivity strategy. So we examine how your APIs are designed, how MuleSoft fits into the broader solution, and whether your architecture follows the API-led connectivity model. So if it is already following the API-led connectivity model, is your API-led model really secure? Or is there some internal flaw which is quietly exposed? Are services connected too tightly? So these are the things that we'll be checking in your integration architecture. Most importantly, we also look at how the errors are being handled in your integration architecture. I've seen the issues where when error is not handled properly, it exposes the internal logic. Sometimes even worse, to make it worse, it exposes user IDs. So I've seen like maybe a NoSQL database, your system is connecting to a database, and layer by layer from experience to process to system, and there is one error in the way for the end user. I mean, from the request, if there is one error, maybe there is a connectivity issue in the system API um, due to some user permissions required to fulfill your request. And boom, in the response, you get the exact error that, okay, for this, suppose MongoDB. So MongoDB username, and the username is written over there that does not have sufficient permission to make this request or query this or maybe insert this data. Now, what's handling is someone who's making the call now knows that this is MongoDB is your NoSQL database that is you're looking at. So here we have exposed the vulnerability to your integration architecture because your error handling was weak. Also, they now know the username, maybe your host name, and what they need to do now is just to guess the password, right? And now your database is compromised. So it is very important that we handle our errors um, in a very, very secure manner, that it should not reveal any internal logic, and the failure should be really graceful. Um, we also check your deployment architecture. So why do we need to examine your deployment architecture? Because you must understand that, can your system survive failure? So if there is a failure, maybe an API is down, how quickly will it recover? That's another question, and that is very important. So suppose your API is down, looks like some minor technical issue, and okay, you just simply make it up. Operations team makes it up once they notices it. But during this time span, there can be huge business losses, right? Maybe you are accepting orders from Amazon, right? And your APIs are down, and due to that, the end user is getting errors. And that, now, if you examine the issue, it's not something that is for developer or architect, but it's for the deployment architecture or the platform team. But within this time span, when you solve the issue, you already lost a lot of money, and also your reputation also, right? For the end consumers, hey, this is really bad. And I've seen people posting on LinkedIn and even Instagram that, hey, on Flipkart sale, I got this error. Now I know this is that they're using this service which is down. So it leads to your it leads to loss of your reputation, right? So yeah. So so whether you are like doing for MuleSoft, you are doing cloud up deployment, you are doing hybrid deployments, or maybe you are using runtime fabric, we do a resilience checkup for all of them. So we assess, like suppose if you are using the cloud up deployment, we assess whether your deployment dedicated load balancers are configured for fault tolerance. Are your applications distributed across multiple workers in production? Um, are your APIs deployed to the correct regions for compliance? Are alerts in place when a node is failing or scale? I mean, if there is auto scaling enabled, are we getting any kind of alert? Okay, now your application is running, or suppose 6 workers due to use data load. And why it is important? Because we need to see why all of a sudden we need 6 workers from 2 workers, right? Why there are so many requests? Is it some kind of denial of service attack? We need to be sure, and that's why we need it. So for hybrid environment, it is even more important to examine the deployment architecture really well. We need to check that is like in the hybrid deployment, we need to connect our on-premise data center to the MuleSoft cloud, right? And we need to examine whether the VPN tunnels, the firewalls, network rules, are they connecting securely or not? If there are any failovers, any connectivity issue, are they seamless? Do they recover themselves easily? And we need to also check if there is some latency, and are we monitoring the latency? Like maybe the users are getting timeout only because of only because the Cloud Hub API, maybe your experience API in Cloud Hub, or maybe the process API in Cloud Hub, and tries to connect your on to your system API, which is in on-premise. There might be a huge latency, so that must be monitored, and we need to check that. So we also check your disaster recovery option when it comes to deployment architecture. So yeah. Next is data architecture. So we know that data is the crown jewel, right? And you must know that how secure your vault is to protect your crown jewel. So, and we know data is the new currency, right? It's the new, it's as valuable as money. So during our audit, what we do is we check how we look at your data, like through the entire life cycle, from the moment it enters your system and where it is stored and how it is being shared. Because every part from data entry to its storage and its how it's shared, every step includes a potential vulnerability. Yeah. So so what we do in data architecture, we evaluate how your data is modeled. We check if you are following the best practices that ensure consistency and normalization, or maybe is there any poor schema design which is silently duplicating some sensitive fields. We also examine your access patterns. So we give you a confidence that who can query what and from where. Maybe you have an API, you expose an API which exposes certain data for German employees, right? And you want that, okay, someone in European Union, I mean, your employee in European Union or HR in European Union should have access to it, and they should be able to query the data, but from not from the NALA region, maybe, yeah. So because that can be a potential attempt to steal data from you, right? So So access patterns, we need to monitor the access patterns, yeah. And we also check if the permissions that you are giving are overly broad. Like suppose there is an API which is exposing like clinical data, take an example, and there is some consumer which only need maybe some basic information, not the in-depth thing like about the clinical data, but we need to check whether those users are getting the data that they need, or they are getting the entire data or maybe much more data than they should actually look at, right? So that's very important. And yes, I mean, we should check if the APIs are exposing more data than they should, right? It's very important. Um, and we also check the privacy, data privacy by design, like is personally identifiable information segregated? Are they masked at the field level? Is sensitive data encrypted both in transit and at rest, right? So we investigate your integration patterns. So we check, are you using asynchronous queue or point-to-point calls? So because here in the data architecture, if you make a wrong decision, that can lead to latency, duplication, or even leakages in the edge cases, right? So uh, let me give you a very good example of the problem in data architecture that I've seen and solved for one of my clients. Uh, we were getting orders from multiple sources. Okay, from the multiple sources were coming in, and then they were through the MuleSoft they were being enriched. The message was being enriched, and then appropriate calls were made to the different systems like Salesforce and SAP for order fulfillment and so on. So it was working like this. But then I certainly got involved into the issue, and the issue was once in a while, not every time, once in a while, once of the blue moon, like maybe once in 1,000 record, the person replaced an order and he used to get the same. He used to pay just once and get the item delivered twice. Now, this problem I was examining for quite a few days because it was not my architecture, not my code, but I was looking at it. And what I found that the root cause was something which was really very, very, very minute. And just looking at the architecture diagram and the HLD, you won't be able to recognize how this happened. So what was happening is they were using a queue. Now, putting the order coming in was instantly sent to the queue, and an acknowledgement was given back. Now the queue, if you know, only the FIFO queue, first in first out queue, is max one delivery, right? But if you use a normal anypoint M queue, there can be duplicates. They try to only, the queue is designed in a way that it gives at least once delivery. So but it can happen once in a blue moon that it can replicate the message. Also, there can be another issue. If your acknowledgement timeout is suppose 5 minutes, and due to some reason, maybe some system is down and your code is doing this exponential back off, and during this process or any kind of latency, maybe retries to for a system, you exceed that 5 minutes, but you process the order now. The same message, since it was not acknowledged, is available back again in the queue and it's being consumed again. So the delivery service is getting affected and it is doing the duplicate delivery for one order. So so this was one of the problem, and that's why data architecture is very important, because if we don't examine it correctly, we will incur definitely huge losses. And it's, with my experience, I've seen it's really tough to find a flaw in the data architecture. Okay, security architecture is where we go deep because it is the entry point. It is where the breaches begin. In this domain, we examine the invisible force field. So what is security architecture? It's this invisible force field that surrounds your MuleSoft platform, right? And it is something that defends any kind of attack. But the problem it is not properly configured, or if there is even a minor misconfiguration, this whole security architecture will be just something decorative like flowers and will not be very much defensive. So what we do here in the security architecture, we review your platform level security configurations. We see your how you're using object stores. We check how you have configured your OAuth. Are the token getting, what is the expiration date for your token? Take an example. Uh, Maybe your JWT signing keys, right? So we access your runtime controls like the API invocations. Are they monitored, or are we triggering any kind of alert when something suspicious happens? And if we are triggering alert, does it go to the correct team, which can take steps once they get the email, right? We dive into your API management policies. We check whether uh, you are using policy chaining for layer defense, right? Or it's just one client had enforcement or basic auth, and that's all you think is suitable to secure your APIs. So we also check if there are rate limits applied, if you are using SLA tier and the rate limits are configured correctly because many times I've seen the developers when working like configuring the API manager, uh, they don't think a lot while defining the SLA. Okay, let's just it be 1,000 requests per second, but is your API should really be getting 1,000 requests per second? No, right? So we need to check that really closely, and that is what we do. We also examine your environmental segmentation as a part of security architecture. Because if suppose if you are using the same VPC for your UAT and production, I've seen this problem that sometimes a small issue or some misstep in the UAT ripple into the production. And we also see if you're using the secrets which are shared across the sandboxes, because maybe not in all the projects, but there can be some integration project where they might be using the same credentials in the non-prod and production, right? So that can happen. So that is what that needs to be audited. We also obviously, the mature organizations have a strict security governance already present. So we need to access that. What is the maturity level of the security governance? Is there a proper framework? If yes, what is the framework? And are the role and responsibilities clearly defined when an incident hits? Because if an incident hits, everyone is saying, no, no, it's not my job. It's not my job to look at it. And I'm busy with some other priorities. So this in this manner, it is not going to work, right? So because the panic will fill all the gaps, right? So we need to check the maturity of your security governance. And we are not just doing the vulnerability scan, we are doing a cultural scan. So let's come to the network architecture. So you may build the strongest API in the world, but a weak parameter turns your strong APIs into the soft targets. So again, in the network architecture, we assess your VPC configurations. We check the segmentations. Are they done correctly across your business units and environments? We evaluate your dedicated load balancer routing rules. Are they correct or not? Are they exposing it, or maybe your DLB? Are they mistakenly exposing your internal apps to the external clients? Uh, we check your VPN tunnels, your firewall rules. Is traffic truly encrypted and filtered, or are there some open ports in the VPN which is leaving the doors open? We access whether your traffic is optimized and secured. Are TLS and IP whitelisting used? Are you applying mutual or TLS where needed? It's more like your airport security. So if you're not checking who comes and goes and do a thorough scan your whole system is risk, no matter how strong your plane is, right? Enterprise architecture. So what do we look at the enterprise architecture? We look at your solution design. We look at your integration strategy. We check if your integrations are aligned with the business capabilities and not just the technical need. We have a technical requirement. Okay, boom, we create a new API. It should not be like that. It should align with your business capability. We check if you're enabling agility or you are just maybe creating dependencies and making the process even brittle. Is there any roadmap or not that your organization is trying to follow to fulfill some future state ambitions? Is your platform governed centrally? Or is there like rogue teams building ad hoc APIs in silos, and like maybe you have a system API for something and some other team comes up, they develop their own system API, so kind of duplicating the effort, right? And also wasting money in vCores. DevOps architecture, yeah. Why it is important? It's very important because the secure delivery starts with secure automation. So here we access the engine that keeps your platform moving. We check your CI/CD pipeline, we check your source control strategy, we check your versioning, your deployment lifecycle. We check if your Git repositories are protected. Are there branch restrictions? Maybe like as a developer, we should not have access to the master branch, right? I mean, modify the master branch like deleting something, right? So if there is a commit signing, many of the people don't insert, like when they do, they don't do the commit signing, but by default, our commits are being signed or not. That we should know who committed a particular part of the code. And also the feature branch name, that seems very, very basic thing, but that's really important because that's what that makes an API or a code unmanageable. So we also audit your logging in case of DevOps architecture. We must not be logging any kind of sensitive keys. We check if your Git repositories are protected with branch restrictions, commit signing, and proper audit logging, and so on. So these are the 6 things that is being covered up by our security architecture. So risk assessment, runtime manager, data security, platform security, cloud of security, and API security and management. So let's go to the runtime manager. So runtime manager is not just a dashboard, right? It's a place where all your services run, they connect, they expose themselves to the world. And this is the place that attackers also love the most, like us, like the developers, right? So what we do here is we check your DLP mapping rules, because these are critical, and we ensure your DLP are configured with precise mapping rules to route traffic securely and efficiently. No open doors should be there, no misrouted requests. We check internal versus external traffic segregation. We check if your public and uh, public and internal flows are separated or mixed. So like suppose if you're creating the APIs for your vendors, right? Or maybe your customers, they should not, I mean, those APIs should only be meant for the customers and not for the internal users. And the internal APIs, maybe some API which is being used by your own application, maybe your UI or your service now is consuming your MuleSoft API. In that case, it should not be, we should make sure that that is not being exposed to the external system. So traffic segregation is very important. We check your secret manager. So because hard-coded credentials are something which is now very old, something that we don't use now. So we need to audit whether the credentials are hidden, they are encrypted or not, and are they rotated, or are they just buried in your configs? Yeah. So we check how we audit how your secrets are stored, rotated, and accessed. whether through secure property placeholder, encrypted vault, or maybe some external secrets manager. If you're using some external secret manager, we assess whether it's good enough for your organization or not. We check your ingress and egress file rules. We validate your firewall configurations. We ensure only traffic, approved traffic should flow in and flow out, and this includes port access rules for MuleSoft specific traffic. There should be no unnecessary exposure in your firewalls, right? Uh, and then we try to help you with the to avoid the public discoverability of your APIs. And so this is one of the most overlooked risks, and unintentionally, sometimes our cloud APIs on the public internet are exposing the data. So we check the visibility settings. We enforce best practices to keep your apps hidden unless explicitly intended. So we also check your access controls and authorization mechanism across your environment, dev, test agent to check who can access what they can do, and uh, are the permissions that we have defined, maybe for developers, DevOps, and MuleSoft operations team, are those aligned with the least permissions, least privilege principles or not? And it's very important. Suppose a developer, why, if a developer has access to modify the DLP or VPC in runtime manager, why it is there? It should not be there, right? So this is what we need to check. And this is very important to stop any kind of vulnerability before even they start. Let's go to the platform security topic and the data security. I think I've already to give some insights about the data security. So yeah, what does platform security really mean? It means how you are managing your users and the roles. Are you enforcing SSO, multi-factor authentication, or is there maybe Active Directory integration? Controlling, are you controlling accesses via connected MuleSoft connected apps? So these are the important things in the platform security, but sometimes it is also about something that we don't even think of, something subtler, like deactivating your unused users. Someone just leave your organization, and are they deactivated, or are their access is still active in for MuleSoft platform? So we also see your group policies. We try to tighten the group policies. Uh, we detect the anomalies through audit logs. Through the, I mean, is your organization really monitoring the audit logs for your AnyPoint platform? Maybe someone got the access and they're using something, and they are not mean to do that, right? So that is very important to check the group policies and the audit logs and before there is any kind of escalation. For data security, as we said, it's data security. When we talk, what comes to my mind is about encryption. But it's not just about encryption. It's about something that matters you the most. Data matters most to an organization, right? And it's very valuable for your brand. So we ensure that obviously your data should be encrypted correctly at the rest in transit. And we assess data residency, where they are residing, right? Data residency is mostly for your compliance or compliance check, and then we do the sensitivity tagging. I mean, we check whether the sensitivity tagging is done correctly or not. Are there masking policies or not? Is there field level masking on sensitive payload, like anything personally identifiable information, maybe your personal address and your email addresses, are they masked or not? We also audit the log because uh, logs must be audited for the very reason that I've been seeing that, okay, in the MuleSoft API, there is some issue and the ops team say, okay, we need this input SOAP request. I mean, we need this SOAP request that's going to a particular system, and then the response back, what is the SOAP response, and we give it to another team to, so your platform team might enable the WS consume logs in production just to solve some kind of data issue or a data incident that came in. And what happens here is I've seen that in the security headers of your SOAP XML, there is your username and password for the system. Now, your logs, which you don't have control for the cloud of logs, right? They 100 MB logs and for 30 days. So for those 30 days, though your credentials are exposed in the logs, and anyone who should not have access to your end system, your SOAP API, are now able to see your credentials, which is, so it is very important that logging is done properly. How you can solve this issue? Yeah, just have the debug loggers, right? And in most of the code, I don't see debug loggers used really correctly. Which should only the debug loggers only that cannot be enabled by the ops team to log the payload. And when you will use that, you can avoid through your loggers that this username and password or the security headers of the SOAP are not exposed. So yeah, let's move to the next slide, which is API security governance and risk management. So while starting this presentation, that APIs are the front door to your digital business, and by guarding them, and we need to check because they are the front door to access your data. And are you guarding them in the same manner you are guarding your data center? So our audit framework checks your API security posture in 2 dimensions. We check your API security manager, we check your security governance risk, right? We check like in the API security, like we check whether there is throttling, there is rate limiting configured, our OAuth scopes and GW validations are used correctly or not. Rule-based access are there, and should not be assumption, but are we sure that we have access based on the rules? Is data masking applied even before something hit your log or screen? In security governance, we check, is the traffic monitored for any kind of anomaly? Do we have alerts to the right team in real time? Is there an incident response plan if something goes wrong in terms of security? Do we perform some drill for that, like we do fire drills in our company? So we are not just checking your policy files, basically. We check your entire security infrastructure. So here's the slide. It simply shows that, yes, we need to change the policies correctly, but it's not that we'll just be using all the policies that we see, because every policy also comes with some latency overhead, and that's being marked here in terms of milliseconds. So key benefits of MuleSoft security audit review. So let's see, what is the key benefit that you will get? So bringing it the whole thing together, everything together. The main question is why you should invest in this MuleSoft security audit review. And the answer lies in measurable long-term value. First, it will help you establish a proactive security posture. It will help you identify the risk before they escalate. It will minimize the exposure to the breaches and the data leaks. It's not about just reacting to the incidents, but it's about preventing the incidents altogether. Second, it will support the enhanced compliance. Our review aligns. So our review aligns with your architecture, with industry standards and the best practices, making regulatory audits smoother, and the risk of non-compliance is reduced. And then obviously we'll see you will not be incurred any kind of fines from the regulatory audits. So we minimize your technical debt, eliminate the hidden security gaps, right? Uh, uh, so, so you always see that a health checkup is better than going to the hospital, right? Knowing your vitals before you get sick. So it is very similar. So kind of you save your money, yeah. Save your money when you do the audit and you know that, okay, these are the vulnerabilities and these are the gaps that need to be closed. So overall, your integration landscape will be very secure, and you will gain the confidence about that as well. So you can confidently say, yes, my integration platform is really secure. So you can schedule a consultation, and we'll tailor a review that will fit your exact need and will provide a detailed documentation to support your next steps. Okay, so let's see what are our procedures. So we don't take a generic approach. It's what we do is our approach is engineered for an impact. So yeah. So what we do is we begin with a comprehensive document review. We analyze your existing security policies, your architecture diagrams, integration frameworks, and this helps us assess not only the current state of your setup, but also how any proposed changes align best with your risk model and with your practices. We conduct targeted interviews with the MuleSoft operations team, architecture team, your development leads, platform leads, right? And these conversations are vital to understanding the rationale behind the design decision, why things are designed the way they are, why the deploy. We talk to your DevOps team to understand why is the deployment process designed in the way it is. Uh, we check why the exception handling is designed in the way it is, right? It is very important beyond, uh, and this is very important to know the things beyond your what's captured in your static documentation, which might be outdated. So we also carry out a configuration review. We examine your network devices, firewalls, environment configurations, runtime manager setup, and we ensure that these settings reflect secure baselines and these comply with the governance standards. So basically, overall, in the whole procedure, these three methods that we have, what we do is we provide a well-rounded view of your security posture. We try to combine your technical insight with operational context. And it's not just an audit, it's tailored to the discovery process that supports your actionable outcome. Okay, so just this is the last slide, so I won't take a lot of time. Okay, so what's in for you and what are we delivering? We will give you a comprehensive finding reports with no fluff. We give you prioritized vulnerable. We will prioritize your uh, the list of issues that we notice and what you need to focus on most, and the list will be prioritized so that it helps you what to take first and what to take second. Then we also not only tell you the problem, but we give you remediation guidance that how you can solve those issues, and will give you remediation guidance in uh, 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 also with the reference to the best practices that need to be followed. We will provide you a platform hardening roadmap, basically a custom fit, a tailored roadmap how your MuleSoft environment should look like. And yes, we will also provide you documentation which will help you uh, for your audits and stakeholders and maybe executive reviews as well, right? So we'll provide you, in short, everything you need to secure your platform and prove that it is secure. Okay, so this is the sample. This is one of this is how that will give you like observation, what are the best practices, and we'll give you the comments. And obviously, we'll give you a complete report, which is much more than this, but it is just a sample that okay, instead of basic auth, you should be using a connected app for your CI/CD. This is just an example. Thank you, everyone.
Millennium. IT for people. People for IT.